Hello, my dear Hellspawn on the other side of the screen.
Welcome to the next part of our top 10 people whom I respect the most and who have shaped me decisively. After the intermezzo with the honorable mentions, we finally arrived at the top 3. And on number 3 is a distinguished British scientist who also likes to work with metal bands.
From famine and death, the most exalted object which we are capable of conceiving, namely the production of the higher animals, directly follows. There is grandeur in this view of life, with its several powers originally breathed into a few forms or into one. Whilst this planet has gone cycling on according to the fixed law of gravity, from so simple a beginning, endless forms most beautiful, and most wonderful have been and are being evolved.
Number 3. Richard Dawkins.
It was obvious that one of the most important thinkers of our time had to be on this list, right? Whoever has followed this top 10 right from the start and doesn't know Richard Dawkins should quickly make up for this. The evolutionary biologist has not only written one of the most important and most relevant religious criticisms with the God delusion, but has also repeatedly debated with opponents and spent a quite significant part of his career fighting against religions, pseudosciences, and esoteric garbage. He belongs to the Four Horsemen, the New Atheists, just like Daniel Dennett and Sam Harris. After his stroke in February 2016, he unfortunately had to withdraw himself a little bit from public life, travel, or other stress-inducing factors for health reasons. But the British professor, who of course is an opponent of anachronisms like monarchy and blasphemy laws, has already done so much for humanistic, naturalistic and skeptical thinking that he has more than earned himself a relaxed retirement. He founded, among other things, the Richard Dawkins Foundation for Reason and Science, which meanwhile has been merged with the Center for Inquiry, a non-profit organization which is also humanist, with the goal of promoting a secular society based on science, reason, academic freedom and humanistic values. He is also one of the most prominent followers of the Brights movement, an international grouping of people who represent a world image free of elements of the supernatural. Hypocritical whiners criticized the movement solely because of its name, because it allegedly sounds arrogant that the members of the Brights movement consider themselves brighter heads compared to people who believe in religions or other supernatural mumbo-jumbo. Well, of course people who think and build their worldview on reason, rationality and logic are brighter heads than people who believe in antique fairy tales with talking snakes, zombies and other humbug. But this has nothing to do with arrogance. It is just a simple factual conclusion. The fact that religious people feel insulted by this only proves that they have no valid arguments against it. Everyone, including religious people, is free to switch on their brain and use it. But to use Dawkins' words, thinking is anathema for every religion. Even scientists, such as Francis Collins, the director of the Human Genome Project, or Peter Higgs, the Physics Nobel Prize laureate, criticized Dawkins. But ultimately, they have no arguments with which they can disprove his statements. They only criticize him because they feel themselves insulted in their faith, and therefore personally attacked. The fact that otherwise highly intelligent people like these defend religions shows how strong the indoctrination factor still is today. Even intelligent people can believe in stupid things. But regarding the terms intelligence and stupidity, which are not mutually exclusive, we will deal with this dichotomy paradox a lot on this channel. Like Carl Sagan, Richard Dawkins is a popular scientist, meaning he has had frequent media appearances, his own TV series, and countless debates. He even lent his voice to the Finnish symphonic metal band Nightwish for their album Endless Forms Most Beautiful, which they devoted to the subject of evolution. Nightwish songwriter Tuomas Holopainen is also a fan of Dawkins and Carl Sagan. Dawkins' participation in the album caused a stir with American religious zealots, some of which burned their Nightwish albums. But for every mentally stable person, Dawkins' participation gives the album more gravitas. The title of the 24-minute-long song, The Greatest Show on Earth, to which Dawkins contributed most of the text, is, by the way, the original title of one of his books, which was released here in Germany under the title The Creation Lie, Why Darwin Was Right. And just as I quoted Carl Sagan's pale blue dot on number 7, I would like to quote Dawkins' excerpt from this book, which he used in the Nightwish song, because it tells more about him as a man and a scientist than I could ever do. And furthermore, he voices my exact heartfelt thoughts and feelings with his words. Science and reality are much more wonderful and exciting, much more unique and fulfilling than any religion could ever be. After sleeping through 100 million centuries, we have finally opened our eyes on a sumptuous planet, sparkling with color, bountiful with life. Within decades, we must close our eyes again. Isn't it a noble and enlightened way of spending our brief time in the sun, to work at understanding the universe and how we have come to wake up in it? We are going to die, and that makes us the lucky ones. Most people are never going to die because they are never going to be born. The potential people who could have been here in my place, but who will in fact never see the light of day, outnumber the sand grains of Sahara. Certainly, those unborn ghosts include greater poets than Keats, scientists greater than Newton. We know this because the set of possible people allowed by our DNA so massively exceeds the set of actual people. In the teeth of those stupefying odds, it is you and I, in our ordinariness, that are here. We privileged few who won the lottery of birth against all odds. How dare we whine at our inevitable return to that prior state from which the vast majority have never stirred. He is so very much correct with this. Religions are death cults, whining about this mortal life and promising people a better life in an imaginary hereafter, thereby actively preventing and discouraging them from making this life and this world the best it could possibly be. But we will also discuss this in more detail in the future. We need a lot more people like Richard Dawkins, who not only are morally and ethically grounded on reason, science and logic, but also have the backbone not only to defend their position against hostility, but also to convince others with arguments, facts and logic. If we had more people like him sitting at the appropriate switchboards in politics and media, then we might have a chance for a better world. Education and free thinking are the key factors here. Dawkins is a pioneer for us, who already has received many awards for his work. Let us continue his work wherever and whenever it's possible. Although awards are not relevant, they are a good transition to our number 2. as Richard Dawkins was the first to receive the Deschner Prize of the Giordano Bruno Foundation in 2007. The prize is awarded to persons or organizations who contribute to the strengthening of secular, scientific and humanist thought and action, and that is undoubtedly the case with Dawkins. The Deschner Award also was named after my number 2. Tune in next time if you want to know more. If you don't want to miss it, subscribe.
To be continued. Count on it.